is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and call our meeting to order, and then we'll need just a minute. I'll just ask for a minute of your time so that we can organize our speaking cards, which will dictate the order of the agenda. The time is 1:10 p.m. The date is Tuesday, September 8th. This is the Landmark Commission meeting. We officially have a quorum. We're calling the meeting to order, and I just ask for 1-2 minutes for us to get our speaking cards in order before we swear everybody in who'd like to speak today. So we have, good afternoon. We have many of you that have filled out these yellow speaker cards. If you'd like to speak today, but you haven't filled out one of these yellow cards, you'll need to come to the podium down front and fill one out and then hand it in to Trina. We're going to try to rearrange our agenda here according to how many speakers we have for each item. And before we do that, I'd like to swear everybody in who would like to speak. So if you filled out a card or you want to speak today, please stand and raise your right hand so that I can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony or your statements today will be the truth? Yes. Okay, thank you. Please sit down. Okay, that's D5. And remember, so we just call for the votes separately. We just call for the C12. We got to call for that vote separately when you're ready to make a motion. Okay.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to follow staff recommendation on consent items number 1 through 3, 5 through 11, 13 through 16, and we'll save, and that's all. 1 through 3, 5 through 11, 13 through 16.
Thank you, Commissioner Mayton, for making the motion to approve items C1 through 3, 5 through 11, and 13 through 16 following staff recommendation, and the second came for Commissioner Eminette. We do have a couple of speakers, Mr. Crawley, Mr. Rollins. Do you have anything to say? Would you like to speak, or?
Only if there are questions.
Only if there are questions. Mr. Crawley?
Yes.
Are you? Okay. You're good. Okay, great. All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
In a separate motion, I'd like to call for approval of C12 following staff recommendation.
And for the record, Commissioner Jordan, as a conflict of interest, has left the room. The motion on the floor by Commissioner Mayton is to approve item C12 following staff recommendation. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Birch. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And I'd like to make a motion to rearrange the agenda, and it will go this way. we'll do discussion 13, consent 4, discussion 10, 14, 15, 5, 1 through 4, 6 through 9, 11, 12, and then 16.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Tapscott, for seconding the motion. Any discussion, Commissioners? Okay, all of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The first, staff, Trina? D13, Lakewood.
Do you guys approve all I can say? Because I heard through 16, it goes up to like 32 or something.
Oh. Consent goes all the way up to 32. Do we need a consent? Approve the rest of consent?
I would like to make an additional motion to follow staff recommendation on consent items number 17 through 32.
Second. Second.
All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. D13.
Discussion item number 13 is 1825 Abrams Road, Lakewood Theater. Hold a public hearing to consider initiation of historic designation process for Lakewood Theater.
Welcome, everyone. I imagine many of you are here for this item for D13, so we're taking it first. We have received your letters and seen the petition, and I think, Commissioners, I'm not sure which one of you has the packet, but it should be making its way around. There's a copy of the packet. Trina's got it here. Just, you want to start it with Commissioner Sherman, and it'll sort of make its way around for you. This item ended up on our agenda today in response to the overwhelming support for the Lakewood Theater and for the preservation of that theater, and that's what we're here to discuss. So for a building to be initiated as a Dallas Historic Landmark, it must meet at least 3 of the criteria. And Commissioners, you all should have the criteria for eligibility in front of you. I'm sure that's what some of the speakers here are going to be discussing. Just, I guess, a few ground rules for those of you who are speaking. Each side has a total of 15 minutes. We'll take those who are in favor of the initiation first, followed by those in opposition. No one speaker can take more than 5 minutes. We'll have the clock running, so if you want to sort of organize yourselves so that you can, the clock will be running the whole time. So you'll want to come quickly up to the podium and maybe have your next speaker prepared to jump up when that person, the person who's speaking is finished. Please address the commission and make sure that you filled out a speaker card. You'll want to state your name and address into the record before you begin your comments. Let's see, also, you all look like a fairly civilized group, but just a reminder that this is not a professional sports game, so no wave or applause or outcrying, outbursts, nothing like that. So we'll try to keep this civilized. And what else? Anything else? No? Okay. So with that, we'll roll right into our speakers. And I'll let you, I don't know if it looks like you all are organized. You've got your order. Do you need a few minutes? No? Okay. And I want to recognize a former City Council member, Valletta Lills, in the audience. Thank you for your service to the city, Ms. Lill. Okay, with that, we'll hear from our first speaker.
Thank you, Commissioner Seal and members of the Landmark Commission. My name is Joanna Hampton, 5408 Swiss Avenue, speaking today in support of initiating designation. I'm speaking on behalf of the Old East Dallas Association of Neighborhoods and the Coalition of Neighborhood Associations, residents, and community supporters that are advocating for the appropriate preservation and use of the Lakewood Theater. I would ask all of those here today in support of initiating designation to please stand. Thank you all. Commissioners, as Chairman Seal noted, many letters were sent supporting designation, including those from the surrounding neighborhoods of Abrams Brookside, Edgemont Park, Junius Heights, Lakewood Heights, Swiss Avenue, Hollywood Santa Monica, Lower Greenville, Peaks Addition, and Munger Place. We have copies of those letters that I believe are being shared with you, as well as copies of the petition in support of designation, which includes over 6,700 signatures. Those signatures are an indication of the broad-based community support for the theater and for initiating designation beyond simply Lakewood or East Dallas. Those signatures recognize the value of this landmark to the historic fabric of our community. You will hear from other speakers today on why we support designation, on the importance of the building, on the interior lobby and murals, the valuable role preservation has played in our community, the long history of community support, and our engagement with our local businesses. We seek to continue the conversation with the theater owners and to work with them in support of this landmark structure, the iconic symbol of East Dallas. 4 generations of Dallasites have known and loved the Lakewood Theater. It is our hope that this process will allow for the community and the owners to come together on creative solutions for the preservation of the theater for future generations. I respectfully ask for your support of initiating designation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton.
David Preziosi, 2922 Swiss Avenue, representing Preservation Dallas. And we are here today to support the initiation of the landmark designation process for the Lakewood Theater. The Art Deco style theater is the iconic landmark of East Dallas. Since it opened in 1938, its tower, soaring 100 feet in the air, has been a beacon for the Lakewood Shopping Center in East Dallas. The theater was designed by one of the most renowned and prolific movie house design architects, H.F. Pettigrew of Pettigrew and Worley. Besides the tower, its front facade features a large V-shaped projecting marquee with the tower top on the left and a smaller version on the same tower mount on the right. The porcelain enamel marquee and towers were all built and installed by Dallas's famous Texlite Sign Company. 2 important designers were hired to help with the interior, including decorator muralist Eugene Gilbo and artist Perry Nichols. Murals done by the 2 decorate the interior of the building and add to the splendor of the lobby, which is highly intact with its grand sweeping staircase and original mirrored ceiling. Gilbo supervised the painting and decorating of the buildings at Fair Park for the Centennial. His work after Lakewood included the Forest Theater near Fair Park and the Village Theater in Highland Park. Very few of his murals survive, making those at the Lakewood all that more important. Preservation Dallas believes that the Lakewood Theater is eligible for listing as a City of Dallas landmark, meeting 8 of the 10 designation criteria, including history, heritage, and culture, significant persons, architecture, architect or master builder, historic context, unique visual feature, national and state recognition, and heritage education. Preservation Dallas wholeheartedly supports initiating the designation process for this most important historic landmark in Lakewood and Dallas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Preziosi.
I'm Virginia McAllister at 5703 Swiss Avenue. The Lakewood Theater is a beloved icon, and it's a symbolic heart of the Lakewood Shopping Center. The many generations who have stepped inside have been transported by the extraordinary interior murals that are enhanced with mirrors and theatrical lighting. Our East Dallas neighborhoods have long worked on behalf of the Lakewood Shopping Center. We saved the old Lakewood Library from being demolished for a Pizza Hut. We led a major effort to prevent both Gaston Avenue and Abrams Parkway from being turned into 6-lane thoroughfares, blazing through the center and removing all of the head-end parking. It was a neighborhood effort that created the design for today's Abrams bypass, got it on the bond program, and in the process created huge reservoirs of parking for the center that are now all along what was the old Abrams right-of-way. It's no wonder that after saving the Lakewood Library, And after saving the center from being demolished by thoroughfares and traffic, that today we want to save the Lakewood Theater. I believe that the Lakewood Theater is the most important building in Lakewood. And not only is it a really important building for the Lakewood Center, but I believe it's the most important remaining Art Deco theater in Texas, if not the Southwest. And as with earlier efforts, I believe all of the neighborhoods and individuals in this room would work together with the owners in any way we can to help them save this landmark. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McAllister.
Hi, thank you so much, Commission, for hearing our plea today. My name is Darlene Ellison. My address is 2634 Lake Forest Court in Dallas, 75214. I'm a lifetime Lakewood resident. My family is third generation in Lakewood, and I'm very proud to be the chairman of the Greater East Dallas Chamber of Commerce, representing our business community. The Lakewood Theater building and the adjacent buildings, the Diener Mills building, all part of that Lakewood Shopping Center, are very important to our business community. We know them as our central business district of Lakewood. And while different businesses have come and gone, merchants in those spaces have tended to either be locally owned and operated and live in the East Dallas community, or businesses that have actively engaged in the East Dallas and Lakewood community, whether it be in their hiring practices, their neighborhood collaborations, support of our local schools, and our local charitable organizations. Our business community is two things. We're about living local, supporting local, and we're about collaboration. The business community of East Dallas and Lakewood specifically is very local. Business owners, many of them also reside here. We sit on local boards. We offer support to local schools and organizations, and even our bigger businesses, our partners in our Live Local, Support Local efforts. The business community of East Dallas and Lakewood is very collaborative, not divisive. Examples include restoration of a Lakewood Theater fountain, the White Lights project throughout Lakewood Shopping Center, the landscape upkeep project along Abrams Road and throughout Lakewood Shopping Center, the upkeep of Harold Park, thanks to the business owners along that stretch of center. My point being that some view East Dallasites as opposed to everything, the noisy few. And I stand here with just a random sampling of representation that we are all the voices of East Dallas. And we together create one voice that asks you for this landmark designation. In the past 5 years, Chamber and our business community has worked tirelessly to create stronger collaborations amongst business owners and with our neighborhood associations. Destination districts are something that are known through the Dallas Convention and Visitors Bureau. East Dallas is one of those destination districts. And our shopping center, our business district, in Lakewood Shopping Center is known for the Lakewood Theater facade and the interior. I've gone to many, many cities in the past few months. Milwaukee, just to name a few, Milwaukee, Lincoln, Omaha, Nebraska, a lot of historical repurposing happening in those buildings. But that's the point. They might be repurposed, but they have historical designation. They're preserved, and they're very important to the viability of those business districts. One of our Lakewood neighbors commented recently that the Lakewood Theater was our beacon of light in the window of our home. And that truly sums up the importance of the historical Lakewood Theater to our business and Lakewood community past, present, and future. As a leader in the business community for several decades and a lifetime resident of Lakewood, I assure you that we understand and support responsible development. But I fear that without this very important historical designation for the exterior tower building and the historical value of aspects of the interior experience of the Lakewood Theater, I fear that irresponsible development could prevail. That would be bad for the business community, that would be bad for the neighborhood, and that would be tremendously unfortunate for the legacy that this theater represents now and for decades to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Sam Ratcliffe, 6915 Dalhart Lane. I'm a third-generation Dallasite. I've lived in the Lakewood Trails neighborhood for 21 years. I am head of the Jerry Bywater Special Collections Wing at the Hammond Arts Library at SMU. Jerry Bywaters hired me in 1986 to take care of his papers and subsequently those of other Texas artists, including Perry Nichols, Lakewood residents Otis and Velma Davis Dozier, and the sculptor Octavia Medellin, and many others. I'm also interim head of the Jones Film and Video Collection at SMU. I'm here to provide background information on Perry Nichols, who, along with Victor Lawyer and Harry Carnahan, two other noted Dallas artists, executed the Lakewood Theater murals. Nichols lived his whole life in Dallas, save for 1 year in San Antonio while he was in the Army. He lived from 1911 to 1992. His artistic abilities were first noticed at Vickery Place Grade School. He attended Bryan High School, where he was a classmate of fellow artist William Lester, and graduated from Woodrow Wilson. He was the art director of the Woodrow Wilson Yearbook. Probably his single most influential teacher of his career was his art teacher at Woodrow Wilson and Bryan High. Eleanor Benner is an accomplished artist in her own right. Outside of school, Nichols studied under two of the Southwest's most significant 20th century artists, Frank Ray, who's the subject right now of a major retrospective at UT Austin's Humanities Research Center, and Alexander Hogue. By age 17, Nichols' work was being selected in local juried exhibitions. In 1932, he exhibited with eight other Texas artists at the Dallas Public Art Gallery in the exhibition of young Dallas painters, all young men under 30 years of age. It was from this exhibition that the term Dallas Nine originated. During the same time, Nichols worked at local theaters and designing sets and costumes at the Dallas Little Theater, Fair Park Auditorium, and Dallas City Hall Auditorium. He also worked in the Texas Centennial Art Exhibition and had work represented in that exhibition. In 1938, he helped to found the Lone Star Printmakers. That same year, one of his paintings won a purchase prize from the Dallas Museum of Fine Arts, now the DMA, and was exhibited the next year at the New York World's Fair. During this time, Perry Nichols was building a reputation as a mural painter for businesses such as the Baker Hotel downtown and the Sears Department Store on Ross Avenue. By 1940, in cooperation with Eugene Gilbo, whose name you've heard already today, he had executed 30 murals for theaters and public buildings in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Mississippi. These included the Lakewood, the Inwood, and Dallas's Arcadia Theater. He also executed a large mural for Lone Star Gas Company at the State Fair of Texas. He's probably best known for the mural that still stands in the lobby of the Bealo Corporation, the Dallas Morning News building, that he finished in 1949. In 1985, the inaugural exhibition at the newly constructed Dallas Museum of Art, Lone Star Regionalism, the Dallas Nine and their Circle, revived interest in Perry Nichols, Jerry Bywaters, the Dozier, and a host of other regional Texas artists. This interest has only increased in the last 30 years among art collectors and scholars, as well as among the general public, as evidenced recently in the last few months by the warm reception given to the installation of glass works by Octavio Medellin at Dallas's Love Field. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Valletta Forsyth Lill. I reside at 622 Blair Boulevard. I'm here today to urge you to begin initiation of the Lakewood Theater, an iconic neighborhood structure and community gathering space. I have lived within a half mile of the Lakewood Theater for almost 30 years. I had my first night out with my husband after our son was born at that theater. The son wasn't born at the theater. I later went to the theater. I have attended community meetings, watched movies, went to Christmas concerts, even called gay bingo in that building. But what I think most of about that building is the illuminated tower and the structure. It is that tower that I see before I turn into my historic neighborhood. No matter what year, no matter what mood, the constant has been the theater. I am a longtime veteran of preservation discussions and, yes, preservation wars. But I can say with absolute certainty that I have never regretted my personal role, nor my city's role, in preserving a single building and preserving our history. At this point, the building we publicly debated, all those we have publicly debated have come back or are in the process of coming back. And in each case, they are considered the rarest of jewels in our community. The City of Dallas is an excellent historic preservation program once the building is started into initiation and designation process. We have incentives to make the renovated structure properly competitive financially. And these buildings that can be woven into the future development strengthen the streetscape and make it greater than the sum of its parts. Buildings like St. Anne's, the Statler Hilton, the Stanley Marcus House, the Old Parkland, Dallas High School, the Parks Estate, all had varying degrees of debates. But today we cannot imagine our lives, our neighborhoods, our cities without them. On the flip side, we can all think of a building we are sorry we did not save, that we did not stand for. The owner has said he does not intend to take down this icon. I have no doubt that he believes that today, but tomorrow can bring a new owner and a new plan. Development plans change, and if we have not initiated the structure, it won't be protected, and we can find ourselves on the regret side of the ledger. This is not a punishment, it is an opportunity, and the outcome can only make Dallas better. Don't make us imagine our community without this place. I urge you to initiate today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Little.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Danielle Benignes. I live at 5212 Junius Street, just down the street from the Lakewood Theater. Though I am not a Dallas native, nor one of Texas itself, I do have a unique viewpoint toward the Lakewood that I feel is worth sharing. During my many years in New York City, I spent a great deal of my free time volunteering on the restoration crew of the Lowe's Jersey, a 1929 movie palace in Jersey City, New Jersey. It is a palace in the finest sense of the word, a gilded architectural masterpiece that has seen years of success, as well as having survived during times of severe economic depression. When a speculation developer set sights on this theater in the 1990s with the aim of irreparably altering the building, its community came together and urged the city to landmark it, with the intent of preservation and bringing film screenings and live programs back to the venue. All of these efforts have paid off tremendously, and today the Lowe's Jersey has succeeded as a profitable theater. As I recall so many fond memories of my personal time and efforts in the rehabilitation of that theater, I see no reason why the same cannot happen for the Lakewood. One of many things I learned from those years in the Lowe's Jersey was a quote stated by Marcus Lowe, who built the theater. He said, "We sell tickets to theaters, not movies." This brief sentence sums up the uplifting architectural character of Golden Era movie palaces, and the Lakewood is no exception. While its classic exterior and marquee tower are visual delights, it is the experience of entering the building graced by soaring Art Deco elements, welcoming expanse, and beautiful murals that truly mark the Lakewood as a unique Dallas presence. The last of these alone is keenly worthy of preservation. The murals designed and painted by Perry Nichols, a 1929 graduate of Woodrow Wilson High School, and most importantly, a member of the Dallas Nine. This elite group has been described as a great example of collective regional artists who perfectly captured the character of their time, truly the creative cream of the Dallas crop. That we have a group of these murals so well preserved is an enormous blessing, and now nearly 80 years old, they continue to delight and inspire generations. Now it is our collective responsibility to protect this unique community treasure and do all we can to prevent the damage that would be caused by significant alterations to the building. I have heard many argue that the prime downfall of the Lakewood Theater being a lucrative venue has to do with the lack of available parking. I suggest 2 points on this matter. Firstly, the Texas Theater on busy Jefferson Avenue in Oak Cliff has less than 10 designated parking spaces, and yet the venue does steady business with hardly a shrug. When desirable, well-marketed screenings and live performances are on offer, patrons do follow and will gladly park in neighboring areas if necessary. As well, public transportation is available only 2 blocks away at the corner of Gaston and Paulus Avenues. In conclusion, there are many reasons why the Lakewood Theater deserves the protection afforded by a landmark status. For the sake of protecting a great example of Dallas's increasingly rare historic structures, artistically, architecturally, culturally, and for the good of the community that clearly stands behind its preservation. We are a passionate crowd, to be sure, thanks to our love and vision for our treasured member of this community. And the Lakewood itself is truly a member of our community, enhanced by one of our greatest artists, dazzling the senses of its patrons, embracing one and all to share the experience of film and live theater as a group in nothing short of a truly beautiful Art Deco wonderland. Remember the words of Marcus Lowe, "We sell tickets to theaters, not movies." Our Lakewood is worthy of that recognition, and a truly remarkable theater, and it is deserving of landmark protection. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, Trina, if you could stop the clock for us. We've extended the time 5 minutes to give a few more speakers the opportunity to address the commission. We're just looking for a motion.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I move we suspend the rules and allow 5 more minutes per each side.
Thank you, Commissioner Birch and Commissioner Gadberry, for seconding the motion. This will allow both sides, those in favor and those in opposition, an additional 5 minutes. So there's 2 minutes remaining on the clock.
If I can't do it in 2 minutes, it can't be done. First, come on, guys, I don't hear no singing. That's from a famous movie. Y'all will check it out. Some people know.
I think if the audience, I think if you're a movie star, then you should get an extra 5 minutes. Just.
Thank you. I promise you, I'm out of my element here. I promise you, I am. I don't even live in Dallas.
Could you state your name and address for the record?
I'm Burton Gilliam.
Thank you. And your address?
Burton Lee Gilliam. And I was, I'm born and raised in Dallas. I did 23 years in California, but when we moved back, we went to Allen, Texas. I will tell you this, my heart and my soul will always be in Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas has been so good to me. And I mean, the people, the city, the whole area. All that being said, I'm an East Dallas guy, where Lakewood Theater is. I'm supporting everything, all of my being. I want to support the Lakewood Theater into becoming a Dallas landmark. There are many reasons for that. Y'all know the reasons that are before you right now. I went to Woodrow Wilson High School. I'm proud to say that I'm in the Woodrow Wilson High School Hall of Fame. That's a big deal to me. I know that too many places in the East Dallas area, especially movie theaters, have gone by the wayside. They've been just taken out. They're totally gone. I don't want to see that happen to the Lakewood Theater. I was raised in that area. I know the movies that were there. I've been there many, many, many times. I'm getting close to 2 minutes. Thank you very much. I support any of you folks that want to support the Dallas landmark, making the Lakewood Theater one of those. Come on down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilliam. Okay, with 18 seconds left over. Okay, so now we're going to hear from those in opposition. And naturally, you have an additional 5 minutes on the clock.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Kinney, 8825 Ferndale. For 8 years, I've been a 50% owner of the Lakewood Theater. On behalf of the entire ownership, we're very pleased to see so many people here in support of the Lakewood Theater, an iconic Dallas landmark. My wife is Dr. Cheryl Kinney. She's practiced gynecology in Dallas for 30 years out of Mexico City. She has many patients that live in Lakewood. I suspect some of the ladies in the audience today are her patients. We have tried to get the message out for 7 months that we are not here to harm Lakewood Theater, we are here to save it. Now, given the attendance today and how many people have signed the online petition, we've actually been singularly ineffective in getting that message out. So I'm pleased everybody's here today so they can hear it straight from me, that there's no mistake. We understand the Lakewood neighborhood has a love affair with the Lakewood Theater, and we share it. I am proud to be the owner of Lakewood Theater. I brag shamelessly to my friends that I am an owner. So our intentions, anybody that's been in the theater in the last couple of years can see that it is in very much need of much repair work. It's in bad shape. We're going to have to replace the entire electrical system and bring it up to code. We're going to have to replace all the mechanical systems, including HVAC and plumbing, bring it up to code. We're going to have to repair the marquee. We're going to have to re-facade the building and obviously do a lot of interior work. So the owner's intentions are these. We're going to hire a historic preservation architect. We've already gotten a list of such from Preservation Dallas. We'll have that architect draw up plans, submit them either to Preservation Dallas or whomever this commission suggests we submit it to, and then we're going to seek comments and approval. And once we have approval, we will spend $1.5 million or more dollars revitalizing the theater. Now, I'm speaking against today, but I'm not really against. I simply, 2 weeks into the process, I don't understand all the implications of a designation. For example, if I go to this commission's website, it suggests that upon designation, any repair done to the theater must be approved by this commission and or by the staff, and there's up to 30 days to get that approval. So I'm in a situation, it's the middle of winter, 25 degrees out, snow blowing, and I've got a blown out window, and it takes 30 days to get approval to fix it. You know, that doesn't work. Our other issue is, it's my understanding it can take up to 2 years for the designation process to run its course and for the theater actually to be designated. Now, why would it possibly take 2 years to designate this beautiful building? Surely it can be done in 6 months. So we all know the truth here. The truth is the Lakewood Theater is a Dallas landmark. It has been for decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinney.
Thank you for listening to us today. My name is Teddy Davey, 6226 Swiss Avenue, and I am delighted to be in front of you today, a part of this ocean of passion that you have to guide us through to the shores of reason, and I know that you will. I have the fortunate position to be a tenant. I own the Balcony Club that stands at the same address as the theater. And all I can speak of course, is to my landlords are preservationists. Anyone who knows the history of the Balcony Club knows that it has been precarious at best and now stands firmly rooted in Lakewood again, which is great. I encourage you all to come by and continue this meeting there. So that's, in the 2 years that I've worked with these landlords, they have been nothing except accepting of all of our ideas, all of our passions, and again, having been in the unique position to be at the Balcony Club, to hear all the stories from its very earliest days to its current existence about what the theater should be and what it has been. And I'm very, very encouraged to take us to where it will be and be a part of that discussion. Thank you for your time.
Tommy Mann, 500 Winstead Building, representing the owner. To clarify my client's remarks, we are appearing nominally in opposition, but the principal reason for that is to ensure that we have the opportunity to speak. And to clarify that we are not really opposed, but our request is that this process and all the energy that currently surrounds it be harnessed and put into work, into action, so that we can make it through this as efficiently as possible. We're confident that we can come to agreement with all these folks relatively quickly on what the most important aspects of this structure are and those that need to be preserved, and develop those criteria, get them in an ordinance so we can go out to the marketplace and ensure that this building continues to be both a community asset and a real estate asset. There is a designation committee meeting as soon as September 24th. We would love to see the obviously already organized neighborhood appoint some leaders to work with us and try to get on that agenda and get started in that process, like my client said, with the hope of getting through this possibly as quickly as 6 months. So we appreciate you taking the time and everyone being here to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. No, you're going to pass? Okay. Okay, any other speakers in opposition? No? Okay, with that, we'll take questions from the commissioners for either side, either the speakers in favor or in opposition? I don't have a... Okay, Commissioner Mayton?
Yeah, we're a little surprised, Mr. Kenny, that you got up because you said you were speaking against, and then you got up and said you were for. And you sort of asked us to, if you're going to be for us to make it happen, but happen quickly. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure how I, as a commission member, can make it happen quickly for you, as quickly as maybe you would like. So I just wanted to say that. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to tell you that. Once it leaves here, it's beyond my control or anybody else's here. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Tapscott?
Mr. Kenny, thank you. It is refreshing that you came today and that you're willing to cooperate with this process. And unfortunately, this is a process. So one of my questions to you, and it is a specific question, is would you be willing to work with both designation committee and with a neighborhood leader committee to try to resolve the problems that you have with this theater, including the parking issues? And the reason I'm asking it as a twofold question is designation committee is concerned with the brick and mortar aspect of the building, about what is to be protected, and we're very flexible. Actually, I serve as the chair of the designation committee, so I will be seeing you most likely in the future. But we can clean up a lot of the misunderstandings that you have at that time. But designation can only address the issues of the usage and really the preservation of the building. It can't address parking. But a committee of neighborhood leaders can help maybe work with your parking issue. It is not unheard of for the Landmark Commission to work with the CPC in order to do a reduced parking ratio and things like that. So I'm encouraging you to meet with both committees, and that really is the question. Will you meet with both committees to do this?
Yes, we certainly meet with both committees. Let me just say the parking issue is not a code parking issue. It's a practical parking issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe the neighborhood committee can work with you. I mean, they have to understand, you have to find a way to communicate to the neighborhood leaders what the issue is, and they have to try to work with you to say, this is an acceptable policy, this is not acceptable, because they're the ones that live adjacent to the theater. So as long as you're willing to work. Now, one of the things that you said that's interesting is about the broken window issue. Broken window is an emergency repair that can be done without a CA. Anything that is an emergency can be done without a CA if it threatens the structure itself. Now, the other aspect is a broken window is also a staff review for routine maintenance. Say it cracks, it doesn't break. If it cracks and you want to replace it, all you do is fax in or email the staff a request, and supposedly within 48 hours you'll have a reply. So it's not a 30-day delay.
Well, again, I'm looking at the website, and it says it could take up to 30 days. Well, now, if from a practical standpoint, they assure me it's much quicker, but even a 48-hour delay when you have, the snow blowing in, a tenant couldn't operate.
You missed the point. The broken window is an emergency repair.
Well, then I've misread the regulations at your website, because I did not find any exception for getting approval.
It's actually in the enabling ordinance. Which means that you have to read a lot of fine print. But the reality is Swiss Avenue during the hailstorm.
That would be wonderful if that's the case.
Okay, but we can work with you. So I encourage you to proceed with this, and hopefully I will see you at designation committee.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tapscott. Commissioner Gadberry?
Yes.
Mr. Kenny.
Mr. Kenny.
Can you return? I apologize. You said the parking is more of a practical issue. Can you elaborate on how that's driving your decision-making process?
I missed part of that. What?
You had mentioned that the parking is more of a practical issue. Speaking of that, how is that driving your decision-making processes as far as what's going, as far as what the use is going to be for the building?
Well, because tenants want to know they can be successful at locations, so they need adequate parking. We had one possible theater candidate who was insisting on additional parking that we could tie up for 15 years. We were unable to secure that. Now, we have a number of locations where we think we can get parking on a temporary basis, and other tenants, and on a temporary basis means we enter into a license to use their parking lot, but they have the right to cancel on, say, 30 days' notice in case they want to redevelop their property. We think we can get that type of parking, temporary parking, and there are some tenants that will accept that type of parking, other tenants will not.
So what alternatives are you weighing outside of being a theater then that might alter the building?
Restaurant users, smaller spaces and, fine restaurant users is a possibility.
So, and I'm not familiar, what's the square footage of the building?
Excuse me?
What's the square footage of the building?
Well, it depends where you're talking about, the lower level, the top
space
level.
It would be,
the lower level is about 12,000 square feet.
So that would, you're 3 to 4 tenants possibly for restaurants?
Well, we would not do 3 or 4 restaurants at this point because that would overwhelm the parking, but we might do a single restaurant, might do 2 restaurants, and then in the big interior where the lobby is, do another use, but we have not found that use yet.
And how would that possibly impact the facade or the interior space that, everybody's wanting to preserve? Is there a way to do that while preserving everything? I guess is my question.
I certainly think so, yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Forgive me, Commissioner Birch.
Yeah, Mr. Kenny, thank you for coming today. I think now it's kind of anticlimactic since you made your statement, but I think just so you know, it's this body is a lot of times seen as obstructionists to preservation, to developers, and we want to make sure that you understand that this could be an advantageous process for you as well, not only from a community support aspect, but also potential tax credits. And I wanted to at least make you aware that, city staff is there to help you through some of those questions, and this is an education process for both. And it makes us realize as well that there's misconceptions about what this process and what the certificate of appropriateness process is as well. And you point out the emergency CA process is not clearly defined. So, certainly we would encourage you to continue down this process and be involved. And I think that you might find that there's some benefits that you weren't aware of before that you can take advantage of. So, but I thank you for coming today and being open to the idea.
Well, it's certainly an educational process for me also. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Birch. Commissioner Eminent.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. I would like to ask you a question. Back to parking. I was checking the parking requirements for the center, and it's 1 space for every 165 square feet because the center gets a 65% reduction in parking, I guess because it's historic. And so if you increase the use, which restaurants are greater, require more parking places, are you not going to run into even more of a problem that you had with Alamo Draft House by trying to park restaurants?
Well, Master Plan has advised us that the parking requirements for the theater are the same as for restaurants, and so that we have the grandfathered parking spaces.
So you have Delta credits?
Yes.
But I was also reading in the paper that the old records in the 70s, the city took your parking lot. You actually had a parking lot where Abrams is now, and the city used eminent domain and took it. So you used to have a lot of parking, but you don't anymore.
I didn't know that.
Yes. It's a very interesting story, but I won't get into it now. So what is your plan then? Because you're going to have the same situation. If you want successful restaurants, you're going to need parking. And so whatever the use of the building, you're going to need to come up with some kind of parking agreement.
Well, again, we think we can get parking where the landlord providing the parking has a right to terminate, say, on 30 days' notice.
Right.
And there are a number of different locations, and we are talking actually to a potential location where we can tie it up for longer than 30 days. Maybe we can do a 5-year deal. At some level, we have the parking sufficiently tied up that tenants are willing to go in.
They have parking agreements that are deed restricted that the city offers, but I don't know, maybe the library, I don't know. that's for you to talk to with somebody later on, but I appreciate your willingness to work with all these people. And I also want to say how impressed I am with so many people that have come here today that feel that this is such an important issue. It's very heartening to see you guys all here today. I know that you have to take off work, and it's like getting into the airport to get in here, and parking is difficult, and I appreciate you guys coming so much.
Well, one of the reasons we bought this property is the passion the community feels about it. Thank you.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Jordan?
I know you're going to have to step back up again. I'm sorry. So we've kind of moved into this parking discussion, which is interesting. I do think you can find a tenant who will accept some sort of temporary arrangement. That's not unheard of in urban settings. There is a hot button issue I haven't heard brought up, although I'm glad to hear the willingness to collaborate. And it has to do with the murals. And I'm just wondering if, as opposed to kind of hitting you with questions, if you could just shed a little light on where you're at with the murals and kind of your intentions. And that may be kind of one of the last pieces that will kind of put some of your crowd at ease. And so if you could walk us through what you think you can do there.
Well, we think we could come up with a plan that saves the murals.
Leaving them intact as they are today, or taking those murals and archiving them, or what are some of the ideas maybe that you've had? Because if you go multi-tenant, then you do run into some really practical problems.
Well, if you have a single tenant, you don't have a problem. If you divide it up, and again, what we're talking about doing initially would be a space on the Abrams in the road, and that wouldn't even affect the murals. We're going to have our historic preservation architect tell us what we can do. I don't know at this point. We think as business people that we've looked at the lobby, and we think there's a way that we can work with that and do that. We're hoping that Landmark Commission will work with us on issues, for example, for another entrance on the Abrams Way for a potential restaurant and stuff. But we think we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan. Anything else, commissioners? No. Commissioner, I'll be looking for a motion. I think we've got one that's getting worked on. Before we hear from Commissioner Johnson, I just want to say thank you to everybody who took the time off to come down here and speak and show your support, and also thank you to the owner and their representatives for your willingness to work through some of these major roadblocks. I did want to just clarify for the commission and for anybody else in the audience who looks at the full set of agenda. There is a business item number 3 that's related to the Lakewood Theater, and that is this working task force of neighborhood leaders that has been mentioned several times throughout the hearing today, and that's something that actually doesn't require an official landmark action on, but just the property owners have said and their representatives have said that they are very much willing to work with such a task force. So that's going to happen. It doesn't require a landmark commission vote, and what does, of course, we are going to hear a motion here in a moment about the initiation, which we will be voting on, and the concept is that these 2 task forces will be meeting, and we receive the message, staffs receive the message that this is something that the property owners are requesting that we do in a very expedited way, and certainly as a commissioner and somebody who's worked through this process with many property owners will say that I know the designation committee members are committed to expediting this and getting it through just as quickly as possible. I certainly think it's within the realm of possibility of this happening within 6 months. So with that, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much. Before I start the motion, is it appropriate for me to make comment before I make my motion?
You may.
Okay. I wanted to make a comment. I grew up near a now destroyed theater, the Preston Royal Theater, which is now was a Blockbuster, but it is now gone. I like these old theaters. I feel that they add a lot of character and presence to a neighborhood. And when I think of historic preservation, I like to go to one of the authors I like to read about historic preservation. And he wrote, "Listing is about identifying special architectural and historic interests. A lot of the interest in architecture is not just about the aesthetics. It's about the stories it tells. In terms of social history, these are really important places." And for that, I'm going to file a motion with the Landmark Commission that the Landmark Commission finds and concludes that the Lakewood Theater, which is located in the City of Dallas, City Block 6/1884-1/2, in the Munger Place Heights Edition, an edition in the City of Dallas, as recorded in Volume 2, page 280, also being a part of the R. Roy Survey, abstract number 1242, Dallas County, Texas, as more particularly described in Volume 95244, page 03967, Deed Records, Dallas County, as well as that non-exclusive easement estate also described therein, more commonly known as 1825 Abrams Road, Dallas, Texas, shall be initiated for establishment of a historic overlay district. The establishment is supported by the finding of the following characteristics under Chapter 51A, Section 4.501, B1, which is History, Heritage, and Culture, Section 4, Architecture, Section 5, Architect or Master Builder, Section 6, Historic Context, Section 7, which is Unique Visual Feature.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Tapscott. Any discussion, Commissioners? If not, we'll call for a vote. All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And Mr. Kinney, while I don't think you will do this, I do have to inform you that you do have 30 days to appeal our decision to the City Council. Council, yeah. Thank you for coming.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.